Ushtaste, Ushtahamai Yatashai Vahishtai Ashe. Baname Ahura Mazda. To think a good thought, to speak a good word, to do a good deed is righteousness. Happiness comes to those who live with the consciousness of righteousness. And with that sentiment, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mehraban and welcome to BaHumata, a program designed to build oneness with the consciousness of righteousness in humanity. The goal is not to grow the plant, but to plant the seed for each one of us to blossom with our own love, light, grace, joy, and peace. So sit back, relax, and get ready for this very special journey to enlightenment. And as you do, please join me in giving a warm Zartushti welcome to our very own Zartushti neuroscientist from United Kingdom, Dr. Karishma Koka.
Hamazor, Hama Shobad, everybody. From around the world, I can see people from so many different parts of the world. What we will do right now is to go through the slide to introduce ourselves and then take on a few questions at the very end from, I've really just at this point spoiled my Zoom. Thank you. For speaking. Okay. Welcome everybody with profound love and constant love for Ahura Mazda and Asho Zarathustra. I welcome you all to BaHumata's Khordaad Saal presentation. Khordaad Saal is a very important time to give gratitude to Asho Zarathustra and to rejoice across the world together with nature. We're also running a Facebook endeavor to please share all the information you have for organically controlling and regulating clean soil, growing something, and then sharing the information and the produce with others. On our next slide, we will have a look at what we mean by BaHumata. In our journey from Asha to Ushta, in the Yasnaha 28.1, we are asked to rejoice all good actions done with the wisdom of the good mind. Bahu Kratum Manango. While this webinar is being recorded and is covered by the disclaimer on the webpage, it will be shared on social media. Please share your thoughts straight from your heart. The flow for today will be an introduction and a short prayer from Mabed Mehraban Firouzgary. He's very busy looking after his neighbors who are also elderly and his own health is not very good. So I will read out his message. We will then have our speaker talks, as we do, focus on the concept from the prayer with its significance, so the concept of humata. We then request them to share a few words or a few lines from a prayer with meaning, hukta, and then the speaker is invited to share with us their own interpretation from their heart to give us inspiration to take good action, varshta. After all the speakers' talks are completed, we will have questions for clarification. Please feel free to put these questions into the chat box throughout the presentation. If you'd like to address a specific speaker, then feel free to do that. After that, we will have the Vahuman sharing session, which is unique to BaHumata, where anyone can share any experience of their own experience with Ahura Mazda or Zarathustra, experiences with Agyaris, their Dasturjis, share any important message that they have about a Dasturji or a Mabed who's been really sharing things from their heart against all odds. We've got a few people around the world who might want to do that, or any extremely spiritual person or experience you've had. Then I will introduce the advisors in the core tech team, and we'll have a hambandagi at the end. Arda Sahib, please may I request you to do the final hambandagi. On the next slide, we will now take a look at the teams. The principles of the BaHumata endeavor are such that it requires the world to come together in the spirit of Hamazori, to conserve and share the knowledge in the prayers, the principles, and the practice of the Zartoshti Daina, so that we can honor our priests and all our knowledgeable elders. Build a bridge of communication between the elders and the young, so that we can get empowerment with knowledge and good leadership for the good of all. So that with good thoughts, we can grow this beautiful fellowship and build world peace, happiness, and the prosperity and abundance for all. So while I'm grateful to my own great-grandfather and grandfather, there are people around the world who have been brought together greatly by Mr. Mehraban. And I'm very grateful to Mobed Mehraban Firouzgary, Mobed Soli P. Dastur, whose health we continue to pray for, Mr. Noshir Dadrawala, Mr. Yazdi Tantra, Mr. Rohinton Munshi for inspiration, and also to the ZTFE and to all the other such institutions around the world who give us this oyster in which to grow. So I'm grateful to Mr. Malcolm Debu, Mr. Rusi Dalal, our Mobed Sahibs Bada, Madan, Unwala, Writer, Bedwar, and Vajiftar, and for encouragement to Mr. Ervad Sahib Potel, Dr. and Mrs. Firoz Munshi, and all the Ashavans, including my parents. On the next slide, we will have a little look at how I have interpreted this and for you to think of. So Khordaad Saal is a time to give just gratitude to Ashok Zarathustra. This is the Fasli Khordaad Saal by the Fasli calendar. We will also be celebrating the Shanshahi one in August. Like seeds are nurtured best on a clean soil, thoughts are nurtured in a clean mind. So come together with nature and Zoroastrians the world over to rejoice Khordaad Saal, and based upon the Yatha-Vairyo prayer, the Ahuna-Vairya, where we say, take action with purity, grow and advance the world in accordance with Aura Mazda, and then share with others who need it. May I please have the next slide? So that with this clean thought and clean soil and clean mind, we build abundance for all. Our speakers today include Mobed Mehraban Firouzgary, Ervad Sahib Dr. Arda-eViraf Minocherhomjee, and his son, Adil Minocherhomjee, building this transgenerational knowledge. A proactive speaker who volunteered to speak from India, Roxane Desai, Farida Pirghaibi from California, Fariborz Rahnamoon from Canada, and I'm grateful to Mr. Mehraban to be the mentor and facilitator of the program. On our next slide, Yazdi, we'll see the core team. And I'm very grateful to all of them and our young fellowship ambassadors, Mehraban, Mobed Firouzgary, Mobed Soli Dastur, Noshir Dadrawala, Yazdi Tatra, Kobad Zarolia Sahib, and our new member, Ervad Brigadier Behram Pantaki. And it's very rare that somebody gets to know somebody from across the world who knew 3 generations of a family. So he knew my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my uncle.
My father.
And also Sam Arzan Wadia, Petros Bevaina from Singapore, Mickey Mehta and his niece from Canada. And those people around the world who share this information, Parsi Khabar, Zoroastrians.net, Parsi Times, Worldwide Zoroastrians, and our young fellowship ambassadors whose names are at the bottom. We'll come back to this slide at the very end possibly, but what I'd like to mention here is in the Yasnaha 28.1, which we'll now hear. Maybe have I don't think the sound is on this one. We'll play it later. We are asked to work towards upliftment of all. So at this time, Yazdi, please maybe have the message from Mobed Sahib Firouzgary. And in that time, let us just take a moment while Yazdi is finding the video from Mobed Firouzgary. Take some moments to just reflect upon this great man who are against all odds has for several years, several decades. I will read out his introduction after this prayer. But reflect upon this. For several decades, while ailing also in the last few years, he has served unconditionally. Please play the video. Yes, Dee?
Good day, dear listeners.
Mohammed Firouzgary has given me a message which I will read out to us. But first, a little introduction, a short introduction to Mohammed Firouzgary. He's regarded as one of the most highly respected, senior-most Zartushti head priests in Iran and across the globe. He has been an inspiration for serving the worldwide Zoroastrian community with a willingness to share his wisdom and knowledge, even on days he doesn't feel very well. His outstanding contribution exists for us to read through his articles on various religious subjects. He has been awarded the Chehre Mandegar Award, the Everlasting Personality Award, for 5 decades of selfless service. He enjoys, absolutely delights in being the marriage registrar for the Zoroastrians of Tehran and teaching me as well at the same time, and has been a pioneer in his Avasta recitations. He has published a Khordaad Avasta book, which has been standardized, and serving as a Mobed, completely voluntarily over a period of 5 decades, he has also been an industrial electronics engineer. Now he says, although he was destined to be a systems engineer for industrial automation, and this has been his only source of livelihood all his life, his childhood desire was to study and research our religion at an academic level. He was first employed by IBM International, then transferred to Honeywell Controls in Tehran, served as an electrical and instrumentation department for about 20 odd years, and retired in 1999, but continued working till 2016. And while he's gifted with both a spiritual and a luminous face, he really is kind, true to his name, Mehraban. He has given us a message specifically for the Fasli Khordaad Saal. He starts with a little prayer from the Moti Haptan Yasht, and he says, Aurem mazda mashavane mashahe ratum yazamaide, amesha spenta hu shastra hodongo yazamaide, vispa mashonostim yazamaide, mainyevenemcha gaitemcha bereja vangeu shashahe bereja, deniao vanguyao masrias noish. He translates this for us. We praise Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Righteousness. We praise Amesha Spentas, who promote good sense, Hudango, and virtues. We praise all the Ashavans, righteous, spiritual, and earthly. We uphold all those good and righteous beings. We uphold the good promoting religion of Asho Zarathustra. This is from the Moti Haptan Yash Karda 1. Now his message. To the best of my knowledge and understanding, Amesha Spentas are Ahura Mazda's own traits, characteristics endowed upon human beings, whom he has gifted with intelligence, the power of speech, in order to achieve the realms of godliness, Spenta Mainu. They are set up in the framework of a ladder, with 6 steps, starting with BaHumata, the good mind, and rising to Ameritat, immortality, the spiritual state of godliness. The framework of this step ladder is Ahura Mazda himself. I will be touching mainly upon the 5th step, Hurvatat or Khordaad, and the previous step leading up to it, Spenta Armaiti. Khordaad encompasses wholeness, perfection, the objective of mankind's mission on earth. Our scriptures in the Bondation have revered the first Khordaad Roj following the annual spring equinox as a highly auspicious day of historic events, including the birthday of Asho Zarathustra, as well as the day of acquiring his Ahuraic mission for his prophecy on his 30th birthday. The constitution of Zarathustra's religion is based upon revering the aspects of earthly creations, laying much stress on Mother Earth's ecology, the care of which has been left to Spenta Armaiti, the Amesha Spenta. Earth's rejuvenation is important, as the importance of healthy soil gives food that is good, that nourishes the body and the brain, through which good thoughts are generated. From this can come good health, education, good industry for the abundance of all. In my opinion, Hurvatat is a stage of reaching immortality by following the stages or the traits that Aura Mazda has bestowed over on his own replica, human beings, endowed with a thinking mind, with the gifts of Ahura, intelligence, life, and Mazda, intelligence. In conclusion, given the freedom of choice at the same time, mankind can develop these given traits and approach godliness. Spenta Mainyu. Thank you very much, Mohammad Saib Mehraban Firouzgary, for this message. I will convey the gratitude of the whole world to you when I speak to you next. Now, our next speaker is a very lovely person. Ervad Sahib, Dr. Arda-eViraf Minocherhomjee. Dr. Arda Minocherhomjee is the founding and managing partner of the Chicago Growth Partners, a private equity firm that manages a $1.2 billion asset group. Prior to founding CGP, he was the managing director of William Blair Capital Partners and the head of William Blair's Health Care Research, and was involved in several IPO and secondary offerings. He was also a Wall Street Journal all-star analyst in both medical device and the pharmaceutical sectors. Ervad Arda received a master's and MSc in pharmacology from the University of Toronto and a PhD and an MBA from the University of British Columbia, and was a postdoctoral fellow in pharmacology at the University of Washington in the medical school. He was also a recipient of several scholarships, including the Tata Connaught Laboratories and the Canadian Heart Foundation. Ervad Arda-eViraf was ordained Navar and Martab in Navsari. He's actively involved in the North American Zoroastrian community and provides volunteer priestly services to Zoroastrians in the United States and Western Canada. And presently, although you'd hardly guess it when you talk to him, he's serving as the president of the North American Mobbit Council. Maybe please spotlight Ervad Arda and his son as we introduce his son to you. BaHumata would like to encourage this transgenerational knowledge transfer, and we're very grateful to them for being here together. Ervad Arda Minocherhomjee, Adil Minocherhomjee, served as the vice chair of the 2019 7th World Zoroastrian Congress in 2019 in Los Angeles in California. Professionally, he has worked as a consultant for Fortune 500 companies and mid-sized growth companies. He holds an MBA from UCLA and a master's in science and MS in the info systems from Indiana University in Bloomington. He has lived in Washington, Illinois, Indiana, New York, Utah, and California.
You didn't introduce the father.
I did introduce.
Minocherhomjee.
Very important. Very good. By the way, Ervad Arda is the nephew of the great Mobbit Sahib N.D. Minocherhomjee. Most of us will have
Who
heard of
looked
him.
after the first gate?
He looked after the Fasli Agyariya church gate for many, many years. Over to you, Ervad Arda and Ervad Adil. While they unmute, maybe please all welcome them.
Hello, can you hear us? Great. Hi, everybody. Khordaad Saal Mubarak. Today is Zarathustra's birthday. 1 second. Who's this? And we'd like to thank Ahura Mazda for the birth of Spitama Zarathustra by reciting Ushtano Zato Atrava Yos Spitamo Zarathustra. Hail to us, for us is born a righteous leader, Zarathustra Spitama. Nemo Zarathustra he Spitama he Ashamo Pravashe. Salutation to the Farohara of Asho Spitama Zarathustra, in whose birth and growth waters and plants rejoiced, in whose birth and growth waters and plants increased, and in whose birth and growth all the creations of Sventa Menu shouted hail. We'd like to celebrate Khordaad Saal by remembering the key teachings in the Gathas, such as righteousness, truth, good mind, happiness, wealth, and charity. So how do we follow these teachings in our daily lives? We believe that the answer may lie in Yasna 28, verse 1, which is like an abstract to the Gathas. So, with uplifted hands and deep humility, I request, O Mazda, first and foremost, this, the abiding joy of Sventa Menu, your holy mind. Grant that I perform all actions in harmony with righteousness and acquire the wisdom of the good mind so that I may bring happiness to the soul of the universe. So let's try to understand the key ideas in this paragraph, starting with uplifted hands. Uplifted hands is where we acknowledge a higher power and reach out for Ahura Mazda, starting with Ushmoyu Jarishfa Ura, where we say, unfold thyself to me, O Ahura. We give prayers for strength and guidance and work to uplift mankind together. Now I'll transition to my father.
Thank you, Adil. So when Adil asked me what we could present today, I was thinking of different things and I came to the conclusion that maybe we should start with something simple that he should follow in his own life to better his life. And I couldn't think of anything better than Yasna 28.1. And I told him that if he practices 28.1, he will become a better human being. And in fact, he will get a passing grade in life at the very least. And if he reads other Yasnahas and practices those, then he will get an A. But in any case, we have to start with a passing grade in life. So let's move on to the concept of humility that Zarathustra talks about. I often wondered why Spitama Zarathustra would start about the concept of humility in the very first sentence of his first Gatha. Zarathustra knew why humility was so important in our daily lives. And in fact, research has shown that humble people tend to enjoy better physical and mental health. In fact, Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland, says, true humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. And Alfred Lord Tennyson, the famous poet, English poet, said, humility is the highest virtue, the mother of them all. As we know, Zarathustra said righteousness is the highest virtue. But soon we will see a connection between humility and righteousness. Therefore, the art of being humble is about becoming a more well-rounded individual. In fact, research indicates that humble people are happy in the happiness of others. Why? Because they know that the happier the people there are in the world, the more positive energy will circulate, making our world a more pleasant place to live in for everyone. So then why should we spend time on this concept of humility and humbleness? Recent research also indicates that there are significant psychological benefits to humility. In fact, research indicates that humbler people can develop stronger interpersonal relationships because they accept others for the way they are instead of trying to classify them according to their own internal belief systems. Students, why should they try to be humble? Because research indicates that they tend to get higher grades. And people who are working, again, why do we need to be humble? Because honesty and humility are two key attributes hiring managers are looking for in building team loyalty and productivity. So there is deep significance in practicing humility or humbleness in our daily lives. More importantly, I believe that humility is a prerequisite to righteousness. And just as a side thought, if you think about it, how would you practice Zarathustra's 30.2 paragraph where he says we should listen with our ears and with an open mind? People who are not humble or who are arrogant tend to think they are always right, and they would not be listening to anyone with an open mind. So I don't think you can practice paragraph 30.2 without mastering paragraph 28.1. So this concept is very important. Moving on to Spenta menu. Now, Spikama Zarathustra in his Gathas talks about this concept of Spenta menu in many, many places. But for the sake of simplicity and time, for this discussion, we will assume Spenta menu as a progressive mentality or a progressive attitude that helps us to improve ourselves and the world around us. This creative force, the Spenta menu, is negated by the destructive one, Engre menu, as we all know, just as truth is negated by deceit, or Asha by Druj, good mind by the evil mind, which means Bahumana by Akamana, and right-mindedness Armeti by arrogance or Tarameti. Again, here one can see that if you're an arrogant person and not humble, it would be very difficult to be right-minded. So what about righteousness? There are many definitions, but the simplest one I can think of is righteousness is the quality of being right from the standpoint of Ahura Mazda, not from your own standpoint. And we were young, we were often taught that righteousness is good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Very true, but one can also think of it as character, conscience, command, and conduct. These are the four things we have to focus on in our daily lives. Righteousness is so important in our belief system because it regulates not only our relationship with Ahura Mazda, but it is a foundation of our relationship between humans and between humans and their environment. So for instance, if you have a righteous person who is praying Arda-eViraf, they are unlikely to go and pollute the ocean. So all these things are intertwined and we need to realize that. So what is the most famous prayer we have about righteousness? Ashimbahu, where we say righteousness is the highest virtue, that alone is happiness. Happiness is to him who is righteous for the sake of highest righteousness. And my Kaka, Dasturji Minocherhomjee, used to often say this to me, and I'm sure everyone has heard about it, that watch your words, watch your thoughts rather, they become your words. Your words become actions, actions become your habits, and habits become your character, and finally, your character becomes your destiny. The point about this slide is in Zoroastrianism, we each determine our own destiny. We are not predestined for anything. We have to determine our destiny by following the teachings that we've talked about above. In the very second last sentence, Zarathustra talks about wisdom of the good mind. So let's think about wisdom. So what is wisdom? One can define wisdom as a combination of knowledge, experience, and careful judgment. One thing I learned early on in my career when we hired kids is it's very difficult to teach good judgment to people. And in fact, there's a saying that says, if you've got it, you're wise. If you haven't, don't worry, because most of us don't either. Because wisdom is actually a complex human trait, which includes the prefrontal cortex and the limbic striatum in your brain. Seneca, a Roman writer, said, no man was ever wise by chance. So does it mean that we are doomed if we are not born wise? Not really. There is a formula for becoming wiser. And it says, surround yourself with wisdom. Again, surround yourself with wisdom, with wise counsel, wise people, wise books, religious books, and prayers. So that is why we talk to dasturs, we talk to people who are smarter and wiser than us. Very simple formula. There is no rocket science in this. So why do we spend time in gaining wisdom? In fact, our own prayer book, in Avesta, in Doanam Satash, in paragraph 4, we have two key concepts. One is called Asne Kheradi, and the other is Goso Srute Kheradi. Now, Goso Srute Kheradi is pretty straightforward. It's wisdom acquired through knowledge and maybe experience. It is Asne Kheradi that is very important to be successful in life, because that is your innate wisdom. That is a source of gut instincts, your creativity, and your inspiration. So how do we develop this Asne Kheradi? What I learned from Dasturji Minocherhomjee was through prayers and through leading a righteous life. So if we do those two things, then we can improve our Asne Kheradi. Now, Western society believes the word innate meaning your IQ. If that were truly the case, then anyone with a high IQ and who has a degree would be very wise. And we know that's not the case. Anyways, moving on, wisdom is very important in our life because it is linked to better overall health, happiness, life satisfaction, and resilience. And we must distinguish the distinction between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence leads you, whereas wisdom guides you. And that's a very important concept to have in life. So in my humble opinion, talking about good mind or BaHumata or good mind is a consequence of all our actions and behavior. So it is not something that just happens. I've often heard people say, hey, use your good mind. And my answer would be, if I had a good mind, I would have already used it. So the key, I believe, is to develop a good mind, because once we develop a good mind, the rest would follow. And in a couple of places, I have shown you research publications. So for instance, what I talked about was in the Emerging Empirical Science of Wisdom in Harvard Review. And this was published in 2019. And there's a lot of literature, if you see, about wisdom and other things. But Zarathustra wrote of these concepts thousands of years ago. And he knew it intuitively that in order to lead a good life, we have to practice each of these things. Finally, happiness. So here I have a Venn diagram for happiness, which I really like. What this tells us is that you could have a pleasant life, enjoying your daily pleasures. You could have a good life, using your skills, your knowledge for enrichment, but you will never be truly happy unless you have a meaningful life in which we contribute to the greater good. And this is exactly what Zarathustra said in Ahunavaiti Gatha and Ushtavaiti Gatha in Yasna 43.1, and which has been repeated many, many times. Ushtamai, Ya'ammai, Ushtakamaichi. May happiness be unto him, through him happiness may reach others. Sometimes when I talk to kids, I said, hey, what's your goal in life? Someone says, I want to become rich. I don't think that's a good goal. The goal should be to have a good education, to serve humanity. Sometimes kids say, I want to be happy. And I tell them, you'll never be happy, according to Zarathustra, unless you make others happy. So we have to fine tune our thought processes and tell our kids what the real goals should be. Anyways, looking at the very last sentence, that's another sentence I really like in this Yasna 43 verse 1. It says, Rayo Ashish Vangeush Gayem Manango, in which Zarathustra says, do thou grant me wealth, good blessings, and life of a good mind. So in this sentence, it tells me that even if I have wealth, I have a good mind, I still will not be truly happy unless I have God's or Ahura Mazda's good blessings. So we should strive in life for all three if we want to be truly happy in our lives. In conclusion, my simple way of thinking is that we should try to create heaven on earth. Obviously, when we move on from this earth, we all would like to go to heaven. But why can't we create a heaven-like environment for ourselves on this earth, where we have a progressive mind, where we develop a good mind, where we lead a righteous life, where we create wealth for our community and use that wealth to help our poor brethren, as it says in Yatha-Viryo. If we do that, we just learn that we would all be happy, so we would have a progressive society and a happy society. Thank you very much for your time.
Words fail me. Thank you so much, Ervad Arda and Ervad Adil. A most beautiful presentation. Let's take a few seconds to reflect upon what we've just heard, and then I will introduce the next speaker.
Can you be heard?
It's a beautiful talk. It is Earth Day coming up. It is Earth Month. The United Nations is celebrating the Earth. And millennia ago, Ashur Zarathustra gave us the guidance to develop our own mind and to look after the creations of Ahura Mazda. And with what beautiful thoughts and words Ervad Arda has completed an explanation that will live with us. And I hope people who hear this recorded message or who are on Facebook right now will spread it to others. Thank you. Our next speaker now is a proactive speaker who volunteered to share with us. And of course, in the nature of Ahura Mazda's thoughts and Zarathustra's guidance, we said, please share. So Roxane Desai is a lady who actually runs and coordinates the classes for Ervad Minocherhomjee for the adults in Bombay. She completed her LLB and CAIIB degrees and was quite satisfied with a bank job in HSBC, but says she was never really happy. Now, Ervad Arda has commented upon the concept of happiness. She says something was definitely amiss. Hence, she did an aesthetics course to pursue both her hobby as a profession and make people feel good while looking good. Roxane wanted to do something on a spiritual level, so joined the structured religious course conducted by Ervad Dr. Minocherhomjee and started enjoying the prayers, and their meaning slowly unfolded. We'll play Roxane's video for us now, and Roxane is available with us to take questions at the end. So please start filling the chat box as you deem fit. SD, please may we have the video?
Thank you, Karishma, for providing me this opportunity to share a very personal yet divine experience thanks to our prayers. I always feel if our parents on earth could do so much for us, how much more would our heavenly parents do for us? So while Zarathustra is our prophet, Behram Yazid has always been my heavenly father and our Arda-eViraf my heavenly mother. Behram Yazid Firouzgary Dushman Jadar Amahe Hutashte Berasad is the Behram Yazid line which I pray all the time. I pray to them. I ask them to be with me, hold me, help me all the time. So it was only natural that when I was scheduled for a surgery for trigeminal neuralgia, I requested Zarathustra, Behram Yazid and our Arda-eViraf to be with me all the time. This was a very secret bond I shared with them, and not a soul on earth knew about it. I only requested a Facebook friend in the US, totally unknown to me, to send me healing on that particular day. True to her word, she did send me healing, and through astral projection, this is what she had to say. She said, Roxane, at no point of time were you alone. She saw me on the OT table, surrounded by 3 divine beings. They were in deep meditative prayer. She went up to them to ask if she could send healing. They did not reply, but very inadvertently, she got an answer from them saying she should do what she needs to do and they would continue with their prayers. This is all she had to say. This whole experience was a very humbling eye-opener for me, because I realized while I believed in Ahura Mazda, I did not have that faith in him. And this experience taught me that with prayers, positivity, and total surrender, Aura Master does walk the path with us. Thank you, Dada Aura Master, for everything.
Thank you, Roxane, for your beautiful message. Thank you, Yazdi, for playing it and for hosting us today. Let us give gratitude to Asho Zarathustra, and most importantly, let us follow his principle of Yazamaide. Let us revere together and work on spreading this Hamazori throughout the world. We've got a lovely message from Firdosh Mehta, which I'm sure everyone will read, but we'll come back to messages. Please populate the chat box with your comments and messages while we move on to our next speaker, Farida Pirghaibi. She was born and raised in Tehran, in Iran, and migrated to the United States as a young adult to further her education. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Clinical Laboratory Science and has been working in clinical laboratories at a non-profit hospital for over 30 years. Farida is passionate about sharing Asho Zarathustra's message with the world and has been an active member of the Zoroastrian community in Southern California. She has served in different capacities over the years, from education, membership of several public relation committees, being a one-term member of the board of directors at the California Zoroastrian Center in Westminster, California, in the United States, and continues to teach Zoroastrian ethics teen classes at the California Zoroastrian Center. Very importantly, she has been the English section editor of the Californian Zoroastrian Center Journal, known as the Chehre-Nama, for the last 12 years. Now, I've read the Chehre-Namas, the magazine, and I find that she actually helps give other people a voice to share their thoughts. And today we are very fortunate to hear her thoughts. Over to you, Farida, and thank you.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Karishma. Hello, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to thank my mentor, teacher, and guide, Dina McIntyre, who has helped me understand the true essence of Zarathustra's message. And I use a lot of her insights and interpretations in this talk. In honor of spring, renewal, and Zarathustra's birthday, I would like to begin with the most simple and significant message that has reached us from Zarathustra 3,700 years later, untouched. A message more relevant today than it was the day it was said. A message that's only made of 12 words, but says it all. Shambhu Vahishtamasti, Ushta Asti, Ushta Mai, Hiat Ashai, Vahishtai Asham. In plain English, doing the right thing brings happiness. And happiness belongs to the person who does the right thing for the sake of it being the right thing alone. Every day I begin my day with this prayer, reminding myself to think of the consequences of every action I take. Am I expecting a reward, a recognition? Is my action out of fear, or is it to be accepted or liked? If the answer is yes to any of the above, then I'm now following righteous thinking. My only reward should be the contentment of going to sleep every night within my ability, knowing I did the right thing. One of the most important things Zarathustra repeatedly reminds us in the Gathas is to heal this existence. Zarathustra describes existence as material existence and that of the mind. Our material existence includes all life forms, humans, animals, plants, earth, water. Therefore, being one who heals existence includes caring for, benefiting, and healing the environment in which we live. Pause and take a moment to reflect on the potential impact of one's action on Earth and her inhabitants. There are two questions that can guide our actions. What are the effects of this path or activity, both positive or negative, on the animals and the environment? Are there alternatives that may be less harmful or even provide some benefit? These two questions can guide our individual responsibility to reduce our consumer footprint, reduce animal suffering, and contribute to a healthy environment for generations to come. For example, what we eat defines our ecological footprint. A vegan diet requires 1/3 of the land needed to support a meat-heavy diet. What we build defines our carbon emission footprint. Total amount of CO2 that buildings contribute to carbon emission is about 40%. Science tells us 100% of global warming is caused by humans. As human, it becomes my responsibility to stop or reverse it. Maybe it seems impossible to feel that as one individual, I can make a difference. But when I engage in a project, however small, that benefits other human beings or other life forms or the environment, I'm partnering with wisdom in being a healer of existence. If wisdom tells me that my not so easy choices in everyday life are good for the earth, then I continue on that path to renew or heal this existence. The loving man through Asha, righteousness, is not only a healer of the few thousand born Zoroastrians, it's a healer of all existence according to Gathas. Each time we think, speak, and act in a way that embodies what is true, good, and right, in that moment, we bring the divine to life in ourselves and in our world. We may not be perfect at it. We may forget to do it from time to time, but wisdom prevails, and with practice, we acquire the universal quality to benefit the existence. If we have the courage to follow the teaching, to keep searching for truth, we acquire continued relevance. If we don't, we become obsolete. Truth, Asha, is objective, but ever-changing. As science unleashes new discoveries, our understanding of the earth and our environment can change. New knowledge we acquire brings new truth. And in humans' quest for truth, we must keep an open mind to the new objective and continue to set our sights on protecting and healing our world. In the last song of Ahunavati Gatha, Zarathustra wants honorable people to devote their lives to serving a world which is full of potential, good potential. And finally, as a reward, he wants God to help him in renovating the world and maintain it as fresh as God wishes it to be. Therefore, may we be among those who shall heal this world. Yasna 30, verse 9.
So in the age of today's corporate social responsibility, we've just learned, as many of us may already know, that Asho Zarathustra gave us this message millennia ago, along with all the other timeless, most relevant messages that we all have heard of from our parents and our grandparents and our Dasturjis and all the learned scholars. Let's move on now to our final speaker. Thank you so much, Fariba, for that beautiful message. Our last speaker for the day, before our audience steps in as a speaker to share with BaHumata their experiences, is Fariborz Rahnamoon. Fariborz Rahnamoon was born in Yazd. He was educated in a Catholic school in Bombay, which instigated him to research his own religion while in high school. He has a unique perspective on the Zarathustri religion and its history, which is the result of over 40 years of research. He says, the Zarathustri history that has come down to us has been written by its adversaries over the last 2,000 years. And the Avesta has been deciphered and translated by Western scholars with preconceived Roman ideology, thereby leading us astray. His findings and views are available on his website, www.ancientiran.com. Fariborz is in the process of translating the Gathas, and it is available on his website, www.gathas.ca. Since the year 2015, Fariborz Rahnamoon has compiled and published the Masdiasni calendar based on the Bundaishan, and this is available at the www.zarathushticalendar.com. I welcome Fariborz Rahnamoon to share his wisdom with us. And I repeat, we are celebrating and giving gratitude to our show Zarathustra, both now and again in August. So please share the message and share his views. Fariborz, over to you. And I won't call you sir.
Thank you, Karishma. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for being present and listening. I know the subject is prayers, but I will divert from that and talk about the date of birth of Zarathustra because I find that missing. So, excuse me for that. Zarathustra, the sage of ancient Iran, was born on the 6th day after the vernal equinox. This day has been traditionally celebrated as his birthday. It has also been called the Greater Nowruz by the ex-Zaratushtis in Iran, those who were forced to convert. Today is the 3789th birthday of Ashu Zarathustra. Unfortunately, we as a community are shy to celebrate this date and are adamant to celebrate the 1400 years of our defeat and downfall. As for the year of our birth, as for the year of his birth, 1768 BCE is the year that is based on the astronomical indication in the Avesta and calculated and published for the first time by Professor Zabi Behruz. Western scholars in this field are either confused or biased and have given varying and misleading dates. Zarathustra at a young age was in quest of knowledge. He wanted to find out the purpose of life on earth. He found his answer in nature, but when he proclaimed it, he met with opposition in the country of his birth. So he left and went in search of someone who would understand him. He found that person in King Vishtasp of Balkh and his two wise ministers, Jamasp and Fashoshatra. It is said he was 30 years of age when he was accepted. Thus, the year 1738 BCE is considered the first year of establishment of his school of thoughts, named the Masdiasni, reverence unto wisdom. Those who respect and pursue wisdom. In Avesta, it is repeatedly mentioned, Masdiasnu Ami, Masdiasnu Zartushtish. Based on this calculation, 21st March 2021 was the 3759th year of establishment of the Masdiasni Zartushti religion, and 26th March 2021, the 3789th birthday of Zarathustra. We Zarathustris should adopt this year for our calendars instead of the year of our downfall. Now I will present to you some evidence of the correctness of this date. We have two scientific facts which can be verified at any time and which will help us confirm Zarathustra's year of birth. Both of them are related to the place where he had settled after being accepted by King Vishtas. After being accepted, Zarathustra marries Havovi, the sister of Fashoshatra, and settles by Lake Rahnamoon in Balkh. He starts practicing what he preached. He goes in pursuit of Hashem, Vahu, with his good mind. Very soon we are told of the location of the natural meridian of the earth, which happens to be close to where he lived. It is a fact that is verifiable and mentioned in Marriage 102 to 105. We are told that when Mitra, the sun, is overhead at this location, it spreads its arm and holds the two ends of the land mass. The location happens to be at 63 degrees longitude, where the sun, Mitra, is at midday, that is Nimruz in Persian. The entire hemisphere from Japan and Australia in the east to Africa and Europe in the west has sunshines. That is the arms of Mitra. And I think you have the slide over there. Yeah, if you look at that slide, there is sunshine from Australia and Japan to Europe and Africa. To this day in Afghanistan, at 63 degrees longitude, there is a province named Nimruz. It is mind-boggling how during those days, Yazdi, can you have the second slide, please? It is mind-boggling how during that time and age, the two ends of the landmass were known to them. And there you see there's a province in Afghanistan which is called Nimruz, and it lies on the 63 degrees longitude. Now for the second fact. We have another word that rhymes with Nimruz, and that is Nowruz. Today, hundreds and millions of people in the world and in 20 countries and pockets all around the world celebrate Nowruz on the vernal equinox. Why do they call the new year, new day? We never think about that. We just take it as a proper name. It goes back to 1725 BC, 13 years after Zarathustra had settled in Balkh on the banks of Lake Rahnamoon. He calculates that at the exact time of the vernal equinox of 1725, the sun will also rise in the kingdom of Balkh. In other words, the new year and the new day will coincide. They will start at the same moment in Balkh. You should know that every year the sun rises at a different location at the time of the equinox. This is once in a lifetime event for any location on earth. He called this once in a lifetime event Nowruz. Because every year you have new year, but this is the time when you have new year and new day at the same time in a place where he was living. It was Balkh. He informed King Vishtas of the phenomena, who proclaimed the new year of 1725 BCE as the new day, Nowruz, in his kingdom. Otherwise, spring was celebrated as New Year, Saal and No, since the days of Shah Jamshid, after the Ice Age, some 12,000 years ago. It was Zarathustra who calculated and realized the uniqueness of these two events in nature happening at the same time at a location and named that particular year Nowruz. And you can see in that slide, the line that draws over there, that's where the sun is rising in all those places. And Nowruz is on that line. The rest of the world will have Saal and No, New Year. Zarathustra would have been 43 years of age. This is a once in a lifetime event and gives validity to 1768 BCE as the date of birth of Zarathustra. Now for an archaeological proof of this phenomena, which is available at Takht-e-Jamshid, Persepolis, where the Nowruz of 487 BC is recorded. Darius the Great was informed of this by his astronomers that the phenomena will occur in Parsa. They calculated and erected a pillar in the courtyard of Apadana Palace And when the equinox was announced, the first rays of the rising sun lit the pillar. The bas relief around the palace is all about the celebration of Nowruz of 487. The pillar is no longer there, but the pedestal is there. Every year, even today in spring, the sun rises across from this location of this pedestal and is verifiable. So also is the sunrise and the vernal equinox of 1725 and 487. If you look at that pedestal, they put a piece of wood on it to avoid people from walking on it. There used to be a pillar on this. And when I asked the people over there, they said that even now people go visit it on the first day of spring and you can see the sun rising across from it. But the uniqueness of 487 was that the equinox happened at the same moment, at 6 o'clock maybe in the morning, and the sun rose at the same time. And that was what they celebrated in Persepolis in 487. Truth is always the truth and can be verified anytime. This evidence is all based on facts and is verifiable. Having said that, theories about the year of Zarathustra's birth range from 600 to 6000 BCE, which again makes no difference. That what is important is what Zarathustra has said in these gathas, and 6000 does not outdate it, nor the 600 BC reduce the uniqueness of his teaching. It is time to petition UNESCO to recognize the truth and register 63 degrees longitude as the meridian of Zarathustra. I think we should pursue this through UNESCO. Now, before I end, I'll show you another slide, the last slide. And this is a very important date. The equinox of 2024, hopefully by then we don't have any pandemics and we should make it a point to visit Arbil in Kurdistan or Iraq. The Nowruz of 2024 is going to occur in Arbil. The sunrise is going to be at 6:06 and the equinox is also going to be at 6:06. And Arbil is where we have a lot of Kurdish Zoroastrians. We should make it a point to visit that in 2024 and celebrate the real Nowruz where the sunrise coincides with the equinox. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Fariborz, for that presentation. Yazdi, if we may please see all our audience while we listen to the anthem of BaHumata, the 28.1 that Ervad Sahib Arda spoke of with so much clarity and eloquence, while we reflect upon the message of Fariba, which included the concept of Asha, sustainable development, while we reflect upon all the knowledge given to us by Fariborz, the young perspective given to us by Adil, Ervad Sahib Adil, and the gratitude given to us by Roxane. Let us think again about the fact that corporate social responsibility goes with individual responsibility. And listen to the Ayayasa Nemanga. It's my mom's voice, but anybody who knows, please sing along. Ayayasa Nemanga. Oshtanozashto Rafidraya. Maniush Masdao Parvi Sventaya Shavispe So normally this is prayed twice.
7 times.
7 times.
And-
Okay. So
and,
while we think about this, I bring you back to the first concept that I spoke to you of. So Asho Zarathustra says, look after each other, look after all creation and progress. So our BaHumata, I say our because it is about the fellowship around the world. I think of it this way. The Sabze, if you'll stop screen sharing, please, Yazdi, so we can now focus on the questions and on everyone who's with us today. And the Vahuman sharing section. And if we can see everybody. Let us think about the fact that millennia ago, we have received all this knowledge, we can act upon it, and there is a Hamazori that we can build. At Navroz time, we grow sabze. In the Iranian tradition, this sabze I've learned from Behram in America, grows without any soil to signify the roots entwining together in the spirit of Hamazori. So anybody who wants to comment on that, please do. But initially, let's start taking questions, and then we'll start the Vahuman sharing section. There's a question from Firdosh Mehta. Firdosh, I think it's wonderful that we start with you. Would you please like to unmute yourself and give us your question? We've got over 100 people here today. Thank you.
Okay, if all of the folks can hear me, I had a question, and I've pondered on this for a while, that I started with dear respected speakers. I agree that we must rejoice the birth of Zarathustra, who brought us the message of the religion of Aura Mazda. However, I have always wondered why we do not rejoice the day of his receiving the divine revelation. For without his message, would we even really rejoice his birth? Respectfully submitted, Firdosh.
Thank you, Firdosh. Would anybody like to take this? Otherwise, we have the message from Dasturji Sahib Nobet Firouzgary, which I can read out that line again. Any of the speakers would like to comment first on this?
I think I personally believe that he is right. Anytime we can celebrate anything about Asho Zarathustra, we should, because the whole goal is to constantly remind ourselves of his message. So it's not just that day, any other day. I think we should be celebrating his birth, his message, and what it is. It's like a thing we should be doing every day, but at least on a few days, we should pay certain attention to and focus on those issues.
Now, what Mabed Sahib Mehraban Firouzgary wrote in his message to us today is that 6 days after Nowruz is also considered to mark his Asho Zarathustra's 30th birthday, which is considered the day of his revelation. So to answer your question, Firdosh, from Dasturji Sahib, Mabed Sahib's message, they coincide. At least we are marking both occasions today. So your message is very valuable. Let us rejoice both his birth, give gratitude to his parents, Parushas and Dogdo, the respected parents of Asho Zarathustra, and also mark the day of his revelation.
Excuse me, but we always talk about it as Zarathustra's birthday or Khordaad Saal. Never have I known all my life people do what our wonderful Ervad Sahib Minocherhomjee just explained, or what was explained by all the Mobbits. If it is so, why don't we rejoice it as the day of revelation also, if it is the also, to know that people realize it is the same day?
Shall we take action on that, Firdosh?
Well, yes, we should take action. Otherwise, what is the point in discussing all this? If there is, we have good thoughts, good words, but they don't become good action, no point in that.
Okay, point taken. I've been wrapped on my knuckles now, and I will do something about it. Thank you, Firdosh.
No, I'm sorry. I never meant to even come close to your knuckles. Thank you.
Okay. No, I think we should actually do that, both on an academic note and on a spiritual note.
Yes.
On
Spiritual
a level,
note is the essence of it all.
will do. Let's think about this together and do it in a Hamazori across the world as strongly as we can, with all the love for Asho Zarathustra that we can muster. Nazneen asks, was Asho Zarathustra Paigambar Sahib a vegetarian? I don't know. If anybody wants to answer it, please unmute yourselves or request, put your hand up and Yazdi will unmute you. Otherwise, we'll have to leave it as a question that we don't know the answer to. Firoza Jasawala. I think this is, Firoza is a share. You would probably like to, I would like you to share this because it's a gratitude to everyone across the world for all the prayers and connections they're sharing. Yazdi, please unmute Firoza. Firoza, it takes time for Yazdi to unmute. So I'm going to read out and then you can add in. Firoza says, I've joined now. Ah, there you are. Go ahead.
Can you see me? The host has started. Okay, can you see me? Hi. Hi, good morning. So sorry I came in a little bit late, but I do always want to express my thanks to you all. At the Houston Atashka, they also had boy this morning and a little talk about the most important prayers. So I attended that and then came to you. But Karishma, this is a wonderful thing that you are doing. And I always express great thanks to you all for bringing us back to our roots and our religion. Thank you, dear Karishma. And I'm experiencing a little health challenge, so I would be grateful for any Tandarostis. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Thank you for doing this great service to us.
I must acknowledge once again that it is thanks to my mom's idea, inspiration from Rohinton Munshi, facilitation from Mr. Mehraban and the whole team, support by Yazdi. It's truly a Hamazori that makes this possible. And constant encouragement and support from everybody on the team and everybody across the world. Biographies are written by Mr. Mehraban. It takes research, it takes phone calls, it takes hundreds of hours of his work to get people together. Yazdi Tatra puts this together. Mehraban Firouzgary guides, helps. He's helping his neighbors right now at the age of 80 odd. He's still helping his sick neighbors today. So Mabitsolipi Dastur, Ervad Ramyar Karanjia. I mean, the list goes on and on. Last week actually was the 2nd anniversary of the Houston Darbe Meher.
Yes.
If we have Rohinton and Roshan Vivetna, I'd like to give gratitude to them for what they have done. I'd like to start a tradition of recognizing all the places of prayer across the world where we can give prayer despite being so far away from our motherland. Give gratitude to the people who built the Darbe Meher, to Cyrus Revetna. Roshan Auntie, would you like to say something, please? Or Uncle? I invite you to share any thoughts you have. They shared the prayers last week, which was done by Dasturji Khurshid Dastur, beautifully. Go ahead, Auntie, Uncle, go ahead. Anything you'd like to share with us? And I invite the world to please share these stories of great human endeavor that it takes to create a Dare Meher, to create an Atish Kade in places so far away from where it's possible even to do so with difficulty. They still manage with greater difficulty. Yes, will you unmute Roshan Auntie, please? She's not unmuted yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Karishma. Thank you for recognizing this dream of Rohinton and my son Cyrus also. And we have to thank the Bandaras for their vision, for donating all the cost and everything to make this dream come true. So what has been bothering Rohinton for many years is that when we first came to the United States, we built these, quote, daremers, but they were primarily gathering places and community centers. And the main hall was the big part of the dar building. And then in one corner, we had the what we called our daremer, which was just an afghan, and we lit the fire when we were there. So his vision is that we should make the daremer the central portion and then have the community center to separate the religious from the secular. Because when we'd have people visiting and we call them and we show them the daremer, and then we say, and then we have this big party with wine and drink, and the whole focus is on the party, and we just give them a little tour of the daremer. So this was the first time that, and the only time in America that we got this opportunity to leave the community center in Houston as it is, as a community center, and then focus on on a Atash Kadeh, we are calling it now, that provides all the facilities of the traditional Agyaris and Atash Kadehs that we knew in Bombay, including the Yajashnega and a separate place for doing the Navar ceremony also if we need to. So there are facilities for doing all the traditional places. And then it was really a dream come true for Cyrus to be given the opportunity, because he has, after his architecture schooling, he left his job and he went to India and he went to Iran and he studied and he wrote and he researched the traditional Atash Kadeh. So it was really a dream for him to be given the opportunity to build this this Atash Kadeh, we call it. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshan Auntie, for sharing with us with all your heart. At this point, I'd also like to give gratitude for last week's prayers that were shared around the world. Fazana also shared their prayers. The ZTFE shared their prayers as well. And I'd like to mention Ervad Sahib Yazad Bada at the ZTFE, who I have no idea whether he slept or not, or how he managed. He was praying every few hours for so many things, including for Navroz. Thank you very much, Ervad Sahib, and to the whole committee of the ZTFE for enabling this, and to all the supporters.
5 times.
He prayed 5 times that day, plus he was doing other prayers. And it was a section over 2 days. I'd like to also mention that there are other Atash Kadehs and Atash Behram celebrations that I'd like people to come up with and share, so that we can give gratitude in a Hamazori for all the great works. There is at this point also a mention I'd like to make of a very beautifully endowed Mabad Sahib in Baroda, Ervad Kersi Bhesania, who shares unconditionally all the knowledge he gets on a regular daily basis across the world. I get WhatsApp messages from him, and for me to send 5 WhatsApp messages takes me effort, and I stop after about 10. He must be sending hundreds. And to all of the other people who do this, thank you. Zarir Bhandara Sahib, Mawid Sahib, please could you give your explanation in answer to, I think it was Firoza Jasawala's question, yes. Mawid Sahib Bhandara, please would you answer that aloud for everyone? It's on Zartosh no Diso, a clarification. Yazdi, please find Mawid Sahib Bhandara.
Let Firoza talk. No?
Firoza, if you are there, then you can ask your question first, please. Unmute both of them, please, Yazdi. Firoza, you first, your question. It's a question on Zartosh. So, and it says, is there a Shehinshahi Zartosh no Diso? When does this...
Here I am, Kavita. What were you asking me?
A question Zartosh no Diso, please, could you make it aloud? And then we'll have a reply from Mawid.
Yes, please. I was asking, is there a Zartosh no Diso or a birthday of Zoroaster also after our regular Nowruz, right?
Zartosh no Diso is not the birthday, but Mawid Sahib Zarir Bhandara will explain.
Thank you for asking the question. Zartosh no Diso is the day when our prophet passed on to his spiritual journey. On day Ma and Khordaad Roach, which comes in the month of June, according to the Shansai calendar, and the Sensai Khordaad Saal, which is the birthday of Prophet Zarathustra, comes in August as per the Shansai calendar.
Thank you very much. Kavita, may I say one thing? Nazneen asked about the regular boy and lectures at the Houston. May I just give the email? Nazneen, here is the email, dear. It is atashkade.zah@gmail.com. I will put that on the chat. Usually it is in the afternoon. This weekend it was this morning, and I attended that before coming to this lecture. So I'll put that in the chat, Nazneen. It is, yes, weekly on Saturday and Sunday. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry for the...
Thank you very much, Firoza. Sahib Bhandara, Hamazor Hama Shobad, which translate as let us be stronger together, stronger in our shoyi and stronger in our spirituality. And I'm again grateful to Dr. Behram Pastakia for explaining to me how we represent this in the growth of the sabze without any soil to watch the roots entwine and be stronger together. Saurabh has a question which I will read out since he sent it to me. Please, could the learned and respected speakers enlighten us on the concept, on the importance of meditation in our religion? Because without it, we cannot remove the inner poverty from cradle to grave. Arda Sahib, may I call upon you in your scientific and spiritual role to explain this to us?
First of all, I'm nobody, Sahib. I'm just a simple person, okay? So, with limited knowledge of our religion, my kaka was a Dastuji. I'm not, have a doctorate in pharmacology, not in religion. So anyways, from my standpoint, I've told people why I pray, because when I pray, I feel like I'm really meditating. When you put your heart in prayers, I feel like my blood pressure drops and my heart rate drops. So there are many ways in which people meditate. For me, prayer is a way of meditation. I don't know what Zarathustra talks about in meditation, I'm not sure of, but there's a reason why I pray.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Arda. Ervad Arda is a very practical explainer of things. In a simple way, he explains the most profound. Thank you, Ervad Arda. Jahangir Sarosh has a very important question. I was fortunate to be invited by him to an interfaith meeting and address them on Tuesday. I'll request him, I'll invite Jahangir to ask his own question in his words. Jahangir? Thank you, Yazdi, for finding Jahangir so quickly out of over 100 people.
Thank you very much. Forgive my attire, but my hearing aid doesn't work very good. My question is very simple, actually. It is, we are attempting through the teachings of Zarathustra his philosophy to make it a good world. I say good because that is what we are after good is best. The question is, how are we going to share and how are we going to ensure that the Hamasori extends beyond the Zoroastrian community worldwide? Because a few hundred of us cannot change the world. We need to be all, needs to be the word all, and totally inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you, Jongir. We have many people on board who work with other faiths in an interfaith respectful manner. We have Rohinton Munshi on board. We have Firdosh Mehta with us. Who would like to take this question?
Perhaps we just need to think about it.
If I could add one simple thought.
Yes.
My personal belief is I cannot control anyone's behavior or attitude. I can only control my own behavior and attitude. And I think it is through example. If you go to a meeting and people see how well you behave and your philosophy of life, I think then they want to know more about you and your religion. So I think it is through example that we attract other people towards our religion and our philosophy.
Thank you, Ervad Arda. Thank you, Jongir, for that pertinent question. Mobadyar Omid Mehraban, may I call upon you to share what you would like to share, as you have volunteered to do so? Give Yazdi a couple of moments to find you. We have so many people, so many wonderful people around the world with us today. Go ahead, Omid.
Yeah, Krishna Traore Mazda, thank you so much, Karishma, and thank you, Baba and everybody for this wonderful webinar. It's really great to see everybody around the globe. I was listening to everybody, and one sentence came to my mind from Tesla, that it says, if you want to find the secret of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And once we know that Zarathustra gave us that lesson thousands of years ago, which we all connected through Mazda. Every creation in this world are connected through Mazda. And, you know, it gives us the guide that instead of having the arrogant and ignorance and all ego that we have, sometimes we have, sometimes we don't, we go through compassion to every single being in this universe. And that's a beautiful message from Zarathustra thousands of years ago. And this kind of gets us guide, you know, what's the concept of meditation? What's the concept of yoga and mantra? Because once this ego vanish, that pure consciousness that is inside each of us, which is Mazda or Fravahar, pops up, and that's the goal. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very well spoken, Mobadyar Omid Mehraban. Omid is a student, the most recent student, as I understand it, of Mabad Mehraban Firouzgary, who takes great trouble to send knowledge and blessings to Omid to share with the world. Mabad Sahib, Zarir Bhandara, you have the answer to Nazneen's question, which you would have liked me to read out, and I would have loved you to share it in your own words. Nazneen asked, was Asho Zarathustra vegetarian? And Zarir Sahib has an answer that will allow us to think about something more profoundly.
Through the Gathas, it is very well known that Zarathustra was a very kind human being, not only towards human beings, but also towards the whole environment, including animals. And we know from Gathas that he was kind to animals and he was giving food to animals. And unfortunately, from the tradition of Zohag and Iblis, we started making animals our food. So we need to consciously think about it and do what is right for ourselves and for our environment, including animals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll put Kangaji's, the website that has Kangaji's details on this in a little while. Nazneen, I see your question. Nahid says, thank you for the good information. Nahid and Daryu. I think that's the end of the shares that we can have today. Would anybody else like to say anything in terms of their own Dasturji Sahib, their Mobed Sahib? Anyone would like to share their knowledge of Asho Zarathustra? Otherwise, we will close with a request to Ervad Arda to do a small hambandagi for us. Fariborz.
Karishma, the question about sharing our religion with others, if you go back to Heart 28.5 and do a word-by-word translation, not the translation, the paraphrase that all the translators have done, but to the word-by-word translation, it says, Asha, when you gain, with mind's good use, having realized wisdom, the path to creativity, the ultimate message of wisdom, through words excellent, we shall turn those who do not know by speaking. So basically, Zarathustra wants us to speak about what we know to others and inform others by speaking, not by force. It's very clear, and it's a word-by-word translation, not a paraphrase. Absolutely. And anyone who knows Persian will, or Dari will understand this when it says Asha Kat Ta Da Rasani. Da is hand, Rasani, to get something into your hand. When you get knowledge into your hand, spread it. Tell others who do not know. This is a requirement of Zarathustra's Gathas.
Absolutely, and beautifully said. So 28.5, I'll complete it for you. Asha Katva Daresani Manasya Bahu Vaidemno Gatumcha Hurai Sevishta Serosem Mazdai Ana Matra Mazishtem Bauromaidi Kshatrafsa Hizva. So through our eloquence of our tongue, through the knowledge we have, may we use our good words to share this knowledge with others. And if I also may point out, we all pray this. We talk about sharing it and we pray for the Hafta Keshwar Zameen. Manik Gujwala, Mobedyar Manik Gujwala. Over to you.
Yeah, in answer to Jahangir Saroshi's question about how we can contribute, I myself, to be an example, I take part in several interfaith organizations. One of them in Los Angeles, I have been attending weekly meetings on the issue of racism, because we have racism causing a lot of problems, violence in America these days. And of course, to some extent in other countries also. And, then I also attend a Korean Christian group initiated or organization called the Peace Organization, Heavenly World Peace something. And, there I contribute from the perspective of our Zarathustra religion as to, how we can tackle these kind of problems of racism, discrimination. In our own community, we have discrimination, even though Zarathustra was talking about equality. Women who are married to outside of the Zoroastrian religion are not allowed to attend the fire temple, in India. And, their children are not allowed to become Zarathustris officially. And, we also have the caste discrimination. We eliminated many castes, from our ancient religion, but we still have the hereditary Mobed class, that discriminates against the non-Mobeds, and so I would say that by personal example, by taking part in some of these organizations, we can contribute towards creating world peace, towards creating justice in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mabadiyar Manik Bujwala. In fact, the fifth Karda of the Arda-eViraf says that there are 5 types of healers. Asho Beshazyo, righteousness. Yes, could you just sing that for us, Mama?
Asho Beshazo, Dato Beshazo, Pareto Beshazyo, Urvaro Beshazyo, Matra Beshazyo, Beshazanam, Beshazyo Temo, Yatamatre, Spento Beshazyo, Yonas, Ashono, Hajurutwan, Beshazya, Ashaziasti, Beshazanam, Beshazyonam, Beshazyotemo.
Very importantly, there are 5 types of healers, and we've heard about them all today. Manik Sahib, thank you for completing it. So Ervad Arda, you talked about how righteousness can heal through humility and through righteousness itself. Would you like to finish this explanation, or should I complete?
No, maybe. Please go ahead.
So, Asha, Dato, judge, righteousness itself. So judgment, good judgment heals. Asho Besha Dato, so we've got a pharmacologist in Ervad Arda. So herbs heal. The good Matravani heals, and that is the greatest healer. I'm missing one.
With the knife.
Kareto Beshazyo. The Kareta is the person who wields the knife, a surgeon. So a medical person also heals. So we have all this guidance for healing our physique and healing our mind and healing our soul, our ruvan. So if there's any other thought, please go. I think Dr. Meher Master Moose would like to share, and then there are a few others. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Karishma. And first, congratulations to you for bringing all of us together on this most auspicious day and occasion. I'd like to share with you from the Fravidin Yash. Zarathushtrayash Pitama Ida Shauna Ashimcha Pravashyamcha Yasmaide. Yaheya Zathashcha Vakshascha Urvayamapo Urvacha. Ye Zathashcha Vakshascha Ukshim Avo Apo Urvascha. Ye Zathashcha Vakshascha Ushtatem Nimravanta. Vispaos Panto Dato Daman. Ushtano Zato Atrava Yos Pitama Zathustra. We worship the piety and the fravashi of Holy Pitama Zathustra. In his birth and in his growth, waters and trees grew rapturous. In his birth and in his growth, waters and trees grew rapturous. All the creations of the good creation cried out, rejoicing, Hail, Zaruthrash Pitama is born for us an Atravan. And on this auspicious day, when we are celebrating his birth, let us call out in unison, Hail for Zathrushtra's Pitama, born for us an Atravan. That is one who enhances through the power of light, the energy of fire, and the glory of the halo, Khare.
Thank you for that, Dr. Meher Master Moose, and thank you, Ervad Arda, for putting that verse in your presentation as well. Yazdi, we have Pauran Rostamian, who would like to share something. Would you please find him? In that time, I'll also read out a few more messages. Rohinton Munshi says to everyone, thank you, your speakers, and everyone and Team BaHumata for making this event interesting and enjoyable. Best wishes, Rohinton Munshi and family. We have a message from Firoza Jassawala Fariborz. Excellent. Jangir says, I was referring to beyond interfaith, to spread the philosophy of Zarathustra. Very important, Jangir. Thank you. Dolly says, thank you. Wishing everyone a glorious Dolly Dastur. After the next unmute, would you like to wish everyone yourself? Nazneen says, Khordaad Saal Mubarak. So Yazdi, if you could find either Dolly Dastur first or Pauron Rustamian in any order.
Hello everyone, I'm here. Happy Ashur Zartush birthday to everybody and happy Nowruz. The only word I want to bring it up here, when we are talking about the human rights and all the rules that Ashur Zartush as a legend left for us is not only human rights. Ashur Zartush was taking it about the human rights for animal rights, talking about nature rights, all the trees, water, soil, and everything. So it includes whole the globe, life and perfection for everything. So it's not only human beings. When we are asking, was he a vegetarian? When he respect the animal, especially we are not allowed even touch the young animal and young trees. We cannot cut even the young trees. What it means right for everything in the earth. We have to taking care of it. Like we taking care of the human beings, our nations, other peoples, we have to taking care of the animals and green, grass, water, air, soul. That is our principle.
Oh, very well said. Thank you very much for that. And in our own efforts, in our own way around the world, if we could spread the message of Ashur Zarathustra, rejoice together, Rafedrai, follow the principle of Yazamaide. We never pray only for ourselves, as I understand it. We pray for us together. Yazamaide is repeated several times in all the prayers. A very important philosophy of praying together and praying for all.
After 4,000 years, now whole world come together talking about the global warming or anything else. It has been said 4,000 years ago.
Please share this. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/BaHumata. We have a website. Please share it on Facebook page. Let us all share it around the world so that we can come together, celebrate, and give gratitude and take good action. So that is not just the UN saying this is the month of the earth. 21st April is Earth Day. We have Water Day. We've just had Forest Day on the 19th. And gratitude to the people who've resurrected the forest around the Dungarwadi. Roxane Pardiwala is a researcher who actually spoke last Saturday. Gratitude to Fezana for sharing all this knowledge with us. Dolly Auntie, would you like to say something?
Oh, I would just say that maybe we should take this time to reflect on what you have told us today and deal with it and work our lives and work these principles into our lives and move forward on this auspicious day. So I wish everybody the best and the most glorious of days ever. We've taken up enough of your time today, so we should end now.
Nilufa Darukhana Bala, do you have anything to say? You wanted to share something? And then we'll close.
I would like to share my personal experience. And believe me, for a very long time, I've been struggling within myself if I should or not, wondering what people would think. But I have mustered up my courage to finally share it today. And I will make it very brief and short. And the reason why I want to share this is because I want people to know and understand how powerful our religion is. And please make sure you all know that I am not sharing this to get any kind of sympathy. Between my husband and myself, we have gone through major 9 surgeries. And when I say major, I mean all of them being major. At this point in time, thanks to our Dada Aura Mazda, we are doing well, we are doing fine in our health, but this is something I want to say. Every time my husband or myself underwent surgery, I would take with me the picture of our Lorad Sahib, Iran Shahadas Pacha, and the Pak Dada Aura Mazda. It's a combined picture of all 3 to the hospital to ask the surgeons to put it in the OR. The very first time when I did that, my husband was a bit skeptical, wondering what people would think or what the surgeons would think or the staff would think. So I told my husband that at least let's take it. If they allow us to put it, or if they will put it for us, that would be great. If not, then I will just have it with me in the waiting area. Lo and behold, for 9 surgeries, every single surgeon allowed us to keep that in the OR. To some extent, even a few of them said that science may be so advanced, but we as surgeons also need help from time to time. Every single time for all the surgeries, that picture has been in the OR, either on a shelf or it was attached to the bed where the surgery would take place. Some doctors said that because of the hygiene and the lawsuits and this and that, they would not be able to put it on the bed or tape it to the bed or put it under the pillow, so they would put it on the shelf. The only reason why I'm sharing this is because, once again, I say this, we are alive and well today because of the fact that Lora Sahib, Iran Shahadas Pacha, and Pak Dada Aura Mazda took care of both of us through all the surgeries. And I want people to know how important our religion is and how powerful it is.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you. And as Mami says, that is also with all religions around the world. So respect to Ashur Zarathustra, respect to him for telling us to pray for the Haftakeshwars, and to all religions and all good people, as we say, all Ashavans around the world.
Thank you.
Please share your thoughts also on our Facebook page. Share pictures of your growth of sabze or any good greens grown on clean soil. Please focus on the soil. Please focus on all aspects of Mother Nature so that we can gain good nutrition, as Mabed Sahib Firouzgary has said, through which we can have good thoughts, good entrepreneurship, and good economy to generate the abundance that is led by good education, good knowledge, and as Ervad Arda said, wisdom of the good mind, mentioned in 28.1 as Bahu Kratum Manango. Kratum is the word wisdom. And I please request Ervad Arda to complete the session for us with a small hum bandaki.
Ask them to bring their plants.
We've asked on Facebook. They will share pictures of their plants on Facebook. Over to you, Ervad Sahib.
Thank you so much. So maybe we can pray to Yathas and Manashem. So if you could all join me. Yatha huverio atharatu shashachitaja Vunge us gamaningo shiotanana mange us maskai Shatremcha ohurai hai trigubyo tagat vastarem Yatha huverio atharatu shashachitaja Mangeus Gamaningo Shiotanana Mangeus Mastai Shatrimcha Urai Tripubyo Vastare Hashem Bahu
Wisdom Asti, Usta Asti,
Ustamai
Ustamai, Yadachai, Aistai, Asim,
Man Yenge Hatam At Yasne Paiti Vango Masdao Huro Veta Shatacha Yong Hamcha Tascha Tausta Yasa Maide. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ervad Arda. God bless you to all of you. Our Mazda's strength be with all of us. Ervad Arda, Adil, thank you for being with us today. Fariborz, thank you. Fariba, thank you. May we have the whole panel with us, Yazdi, so we can see everybody. Thank you, Mehraban. Thank you for doing all this and putting everyone together. And thank you, Roxane, for volunteering your share. Everyone, thank you. We also have a very special person today, Yashin Joki, who has a great Facebook following and shares a lot of knowledge. Thank you for doing that, Yashinji. Let's close whenever you're ready. You can all drop off and then Yazdi will close the session. Thank you, Ervad Arda. You are fantastic as always.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, Karishma from Los Angeles.
Yes, yes, please speak.
Yes,
Go ahead.
thank you very much. See you soon. Bye. Thank you. Hi, Nilufer.
Thank you, Fariborz, for sharing all your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Karishma, for having us.
Thank
It
you.
was very nice.
Please share all those details with me about the longitude. I've written it down, and we'll do what we can by writing letters around the world.
Yes, we have to do that. It is very important because it shows that 2000 years before Galileo, we knew more than Galileo.
Absolutely. And knowledge and wisdom are the foundations of the Zartoshti Daina. And Daina means consciousness. It also means the individual conscience, depending on how we interpret it.
Thank you, Karishma, for your patience in listening to all kinds of speakers here today.
That's the whole principle of BaHumata. That's why I chose the word BaHumata, with good thoughts. But if you research the word, it has roughly the same meaning in many different languages, including Pali, ancient Indian. It means the good mind. And if you translate it into just Indian language, BaHumata also is Bahumat, the voice of the many.
Good job,
Although
good job.
I translate it as with good mind. Yazdi, when you're ready, please close. Thank you, everyone. Hamazor, Hama Shobad, and prayers for the health of Mobit Saib, Mehraban, Firouzgary, and Mobit Soli.
If I could just add, Dr. Puran Rostamian just put on the chat that we should not say, celebrate the year 1400. It's the year of our downfall.
Would you like to end with a positive message? What should we celebrate?
We should celebrate the 3759th year of the establishment of the Zarathushtri religion by Zarathustra.
And celebrate all the good works done with uplifted hands, good actions, to take Asho Zarathustra's words into action for the good of all. Hamazor, Hama Shobad, everybody. Thank you, Ervad Arda.